It's all about the goal which you pick and why you are doing it. In those expeditions, you are in sort of a war-like situation. Your life is at stake, so you automatically get that motivation. And if it is very shallow and superficial, then it is very difficult to sustain it, very difficult to find motivation, and people depend on motivation. But so I think it's about the why you are doing something. And if you have figured out the why, then you don't have to worry about anyhow, you would do it anyhow.
Welcome to the Climapreneur show, Harsh. So, Harsh, tell me that how does a day in your life look like? A day in the life of Harshvardhan Joshi looks like.
Mm, I wake up pretty early, around 4:30 a.m., and then I go for my workout for the day. It's different every day.
Hmm.
So my life is like a movie. Uh, and people think that okay, maybe I must be trekking every day. I
Hmm.
definitely exercise and work out every day, but it's different every day. Some days it's
Hmm.
a steep uphill hike, some days it's a long hike, some days it's a run, some days it's cycling, some days it's something like yoga just for recovery. So that is something which I do. But also many a time I have my meetings in the US around those hours. So first I attend my meetings at around 4, 5, 6 a.m. and then I
Hmm.
go for my workout. I return around 8, 9 a.m. depending on
Hmm.
the day, and then I get my nutrition, I stretch and get ready to kickstart my day. I work from 9 to 5, or 10 to 5, 10 to 6. In between, during the lunch also, sometimes I try to throw in a swim, but usually I go for a swim
Hmm.
at around 4:35 p.m. 4 days a week. I swim around 1.5 to 2 kilometers, depending on
Wow.
the week and the season. And then I read to my personal calls, other side hustles and stuff like that. So yeah, this is what a day in my life looks like. And everything revolves around the goal which I'm working towards. So until Everest, it was for Everest. Now it is for some other mountains or some other
Hmm.
metaphorical Everest. But yeah, I like to keep my calendar full.
So, tell me something that was your day like this, like ever since, or what actually took you to actually create this kind of routine? Because, like sometimes I also do try these things, okay, that I have to wake up, then read something, then I do yoga daily, then, but, sometimes just not able to follow it. So, how was you, like, how have you structured this way? Like, it seems so full. And it seems like, I would say, ideal day for anyone that who would want to have such kind of a day.
Yeah, it's fun. So it's all about the goal which you pick and
Hmm.
why you are doing it. So for me, it's Everest. I want to enjoy up there. So I sweat more here so that I bleed less out there in war, because in those expeditions you are in sort of a war-like
Hmm.
situation. Your life is at stake.
Yes.
So you automatically get that motivation. And another thing is, why are you doing it? Like if you are doing it for
Hmm.
some superficial reason, like people say
Hmm.
that I would go for a run every day, or I would go to the gym every day, or I would eat clean
Yes.
every day, and if their reason behind is just I want to look good, or I want to get
Hmm.
abs, or whatever XYZ, if it is very shallow and superficial, then it is very difficult to sustain it, very difficult to find motivation, and people depend on motivation. But
Yes.
discipline is what keeps one going. And even I was not
Hmm.
like this always, but I am a systems thinker. So when I started my training plan in a scientific structured way, I was enjoying it. So a lot of people think that oh my god, it's so much struggle, but in
No.
fact, I pity their perception, even my
Hmm.
parents, that they think that it's some sacrifice or struggle, but it's just lifestyle. And I do
Yes.
everything which anyone else does. I do attend parties, although, yeah, I cannot relate to many of my friends anymore. I go to sleep early around 10, 11 p.m., but I do read a lot. I do attend a lot of calls every evening. Even
Hmm.
today, I do a lot of meetings. So I'm doing pretty much everything. It's just about time management, which came via
Yes.
sports, which came via such uh, such missions which I undertook over the past few years, and I'm still learning, growing as a person. So I think it's about the why you are doing something, and if you have
Yes.
figured out the why, then you don't have to worry about anyhow. You would do it anyhow. So you don't have to worry about how you are gonna do it.
I feel that one of the most beautiful element of this, like this kind of lifestyle, is that you're actually consciously living every moment. It's not just that you wake up and the day just passes by. You exactly, you're just breathing every second consciously. I feel that is the essence, and that is something which, a lot of people, I also try to incorporate in my day. So I haven't reached there, but, in the process of reaching there. So definitely I can relate to this thing with you. Also, Harsh, tell me that what impact has the journey to Everest had on your mindset?
So yeah, the feeling which you spoke about, feeling of mindfulness,
Yes.
that is something which I realized during my journey towards Everest, building up to
Hmm.
Everest, and I had even more realizations and lessons while climbing Everest, and even after that. Even today, I'm learning every day, and no one is reaching there, because if we reach there, then obviously we would be Gautam Buddha. But yeah, so Everest and any mountain teaches you a lot of stuff,
Hmm.
a lot of life lessons, and more than anything, it teaches one the value of minimalism, that you don't need
Right.
a lot of stuff to be happy, to accomplish anything, because
Yes.
out there, for example, at Everest, uh, there are I have some friends actually who have spent over 10 crores at climbing Everest. And for a guy like me who did it in the most minimal way, I spent a little over 50 lakhs. But still, everyone is the same, because you cannot carry more than
Yes.
a certain amount of stuff on your backpack. You can try to make your experience as safe as possible, hire the best outfitters, the best guides and everything, but still you have to struggle, you have to suffer. You cannot make
Yes.
it safer above a certain extent, easier above a certain extent, more comfortable. And that is when you realize that even while struggling, even when you haven't taken a shower for 4 weeks, even when you don't have a bed, you are sleeping on ice, and your life is on the edge, you are happy and you are living in the moment. And you realize that you
Yes.
don't need anything to be happy. You realize the best things in life are free, because although Everest is expensive, there are many other mountains for which you don't
Hmm.
need any money. You just need your top of the world body and mind. So yeah, you learn that feeling of minimalism, which also relates to sustainability and many other things around the environment. And the feeling of mindfulness, living in the moment. And also it teaches you a lot of other stuff which you can come back and implement in every aspect of your life, because most of the people which you find on those big mountains are not hippies or full-time backpackers. There must be hardly a small fraction of the people climbing big mountains. Mostly it's the executives, investment bankers, CFOs, CEOs, and all of them, because they know how beneficial it is, how good it is. And they come there on their sabbaticals or on their leaves. They train hard while working full time, 50 hours, 60, 70 hours a week.
Wow.
They make time and train in their urban environments, and they come there to experience outdoors and take back the lessons to be better leaders, to be more eco-friendly leaders, to be more creative in their businesses and stuff like that. So I don't know where to start and end, but yeah, just mountains teach you how to live.
And like hearing this, it feels incredible. And at that point when you said that when you're sleeping, on the ground and all these things are happening to you, I feel in that moment also that satisfaction that you're moving closer to your goal day by day, second by second, minute by minute, is something that keeps you alive. And I feel that a lot of people might not climb Everest or have not climbed Everest, but this feeling is similar even when you're climbing your metaphorical Everests.
You
So
don't
I
need to
understand. Yeah.
climb Everest. Like I tell
Yes.
everyone, it for some people getting that college degree, or uh, starting your own business might be something like climbing Everest.
So, Harsh, since we were talking about, minimalism and sustainability, I would like to ask you this question, that how has, your outlook towards resources or managing resources changed, and how has it affected your life after returning from Everest?
So not just specifically after Everest, but it changed a lot during my experiences across the Himalayas over the
Hmm.
past few years. Because when I would visit a lot of remote villages, especially in Ladakh and sometimes in Nepal, I would see that those guys don't have electricity, although they are much more content in life, they are
Yes.
happy, but they don't have communications, they don't have healthcare, and sometimes when people are sick, they have to trek for days even to inform someone that they need help. And then I saw some very basic struggles as well, that people who don't have access to electricity, they lose 12 hours of their lives every day. So children cannot do homework, people cannot cook food, people cannot go outdoors, they don't have a social life and stuff like that. And just when I saw that some people, like someone in a village, gets one small solar powered light or something, and that uplifts their lives because it gives them a lot of things. Like for the first time, for example, around Everest, when I
Hmm.
was donating some solar systems, some of my partners sent me a small box, a kit which had like 3 4 bulbs, one tube light, and a small charging device which had an FM and a USB charging. And I was like, I was a little embarrassed. I was like, I'm talking about electrifying villages, and this is something very small. But when I
Yes.
gave it to one person, one of the villagers, the first person I gave it to, the first kid, he was so happy. He was like, wow, this is awesome. And then I saw that that radio is the only source of information, education, and entertainment for him. Because of
Yes.
that USB charging, he can have a small basic black and white phone now, because until now he couldn't charge it. He had no means to charge it. Now he can use that phone, and then he would climb a hill where you get some network, some sketchy
Yes.
network, but still he can connect with the outside world with those lights. Obviously earlier, because people sometimes, okay, people would say get them torches, but they cannot
Hmm.
afford batteries. And let's say one person has one solar torch from somewhere, like after saving for a long time in a household, when one person goes out with that torch to the fields, everyone else is in darkness. So these are the stuff which I realized while going to the mountains. And I realized how important sustainable development is, not because of climate change and obviously global warming and
Yeah.
everything, which I was aware about given my education and everything, but also on the socio-economic front, how these
Yes.
17 sustainable development goals from the United Nations can help us with a holistic development, obviously while helping us fight climate change. So this was one of the examples. And similarly, I saw a lot of glaciers melt. I saw places changing in front of me because I go to some of those places every year, including
Yeah.
Everest. So I saw the first-hand effects. I saw people suffering, like in Ladakh. I saw flash floods for the first time. I saw cloud burst. Staying in Mumbai, I don't know what's a cloud burst, and in fact, even today, I don't exactly know how does it work out. But I saw the first-hand effects of it, and which is not natural, like which didn't occur until a few decades ago, but now it is so frequent. Similarly, in our climbing expeditions, the weather patterns are changing, so our sport is
Yes.
becoming much and more dangerous, more vulnerable due to climate change. So yeah, there were a lot of good and bad lessons which I learned during my endeavors, not just Everest but everything before and after it.
So would you say, Harsh, that whatever you have learned before actually climbing Everest, like one thing I loved about you here is that the way you've kept these experiences and the way you have taken them to Everest. Would you say that all these experiences actually helped you towards a sustainable expedition that you did, and the kind of what you did on your journey to Everest? Because like I would like the listeners to now know that how you have taken all these experiences and added something extremely meaningful to your journey towards Everest.
Yes, so when I was planning my Everest expedition, like I knew I was gonna climb Everest since 2015, 2016. I didn't know when, and around 2017, 18, I was planning to climb Everest in 2020. Due to the pandemic, it got pushed to 2021. So
Right.
just when I was planning my campaign, I knew that I want to support some cause during my expedition, and the first thing which came to my mind was animal healthcare, because I love pets, and I've lost a few due to the lack of awareness and healthcare facilities for them in India. So I thought I would do something around that, but then I realized that the world won't relate, and I also knew that there are some more important causes which need attention, and that is when I wanted to pick something from the sustainability development goals. And then I saw that renewable energy can help me or us solve a lot of issues on the
Yes.
environmental front, while also helping on the socio-economic front. So it brings them income, employment, it improves their health because they burn less fossil fuels, it helps us fight climate change, it brings education. So I think this one thing can solve a lot of issues at once, so I picked this cause. And then I wanted to do something around it, mostly on the awareness part. So
Yes.
during my Everest expedition, I decided to carry some solar panels out there, which I would use at the base camp, because we spent 2 months climbing Everest. And after that, I donated it at some of those mountain hamlets out there. So not mainly to show that okay, we saved like a few trees, but with the example, I wanted to educate people and create awareness that okay, just by switching to renewable energy in those months we can create a carbon offset which is equivalent to planting whatever xyz, like 5
Yes.
trees or 7 trees. If you make mindful choices in your everyday life, you can create a much bigger impact while saving money, while not doing something extra, because we don't have that kind of bandwidth or resources to plant so many trees. But just by switching to solar energy or wind or anything, you can create a carbon offset of planting acres of forest without investing any other resources. For example, a family, when I donated some solar panels in some villages in the Himalayas, we did this math that a family of four uses around zero point 0.5 to 1 kilowatt system equivalent electricity, for which we give them like a 80 to 100 watt panel system. So within 1 year, the carbon offset from that is equivalent to planting trees over 12,000 square feet of area.
Wow.
So over
Hmm.
30 years, the compounded effect is equivalent to planting 9 acres of forest. So obviously they wouldn't have the space or the bandwidth to go and plant 9 acre or even 1 acre worth of trees and take care of them. But this way, they have done much more for the environment, while they also get free electricity. They get freedom because solar is free for all, so they can produce as much as they need, and it's just a very empowering feeling for even us when we do that and we see change. So these are the kind of examples which I try to put across through my campaign, that if I can go clean and take this message to the highest point on earth, then they can do much better in their
Yes.
comfort zones, from the convenience of their cities.
And is it what you meant by when you said that the beauty of sustainable energy is it that it democratizes health, education, and empowers people?
Yeah. This is what I meant. I believe you read it somewhere in one of my articles or
Yes,
something.
I do very good research for every interview.
So you must be bored now because I'm repeating a lot of stuff, but for the
No, I'm
viewers.
not bored, Harsh, because when you read, you just read those words. But now, when you're telling that, there are emotions that are flowing in, and all these experiences that you're talking about, I prefer, learning from the person himself or herself, because then comes true emotions, and that is what is like extremely special to me. So, Harsh, my next question to you would be, and this is something that you have mentioned, and I really like the way you've explained this point. So, I would like the listeners to know, why do you think that everyone should volunteer in a cleanliness drive once in a lifetime?
So again with this, I will try to explain it with an example because
Yeah.
you must have realized I love examples and relatable stuff. So for example, if you volunteer for a plogging drive like a beach cleanliness drive or a mountain trail trash cleanliness drive, you will have to bend down maybe 3,000 times or at least a few hundred times in an hour to pick trash. And just once if you do that, no matter what demographic do you come from, which part of the society, you will never throw trash again. So that feeling of awareness and enlightenment comes from volunteering. Similarly, if you volunteer with any non-profit, there are at least 1,000 of them doing very good work in the remote areas of India. If you volunteer with them for any cause, especially around environment, you would see how privileged you are. No matter how difficult your life seems right now, how bad the situation feels, that oh my god, things are not working out, but when you see those villagers, those people in the slums or the tribal areas, and you see them, they smile even with those limited resources when they are not sure about the next meal. You would
Right.
realize how privileged you are, and you will feel like giving back to the society much more, creating much more impact. And that feeling of gratefulness brings a different kind of happiness. So yeah, for personal happiness also one can volunteer, but even otherwise one would become a much more responsible youth. So I think that is why you should volunteer for NGOs, for non-profits,
Definitely.
for causes, and for fun. You get to travel, you get to learn
Yeah.
culture, and it looks good on your profile, your resume. So if you are ever planning to take up a job or stand in elections or go for masters or scholarships or anything, all these experiences count a lot.
And like someone was mentioning this earlier on the podcast, that once you actually start doing these things, right, just take the first step, and that green muscle in you, it starts strengthening. So when you, like, say, for example, go for picking the trash, maybe the next step you would think that not to throw it. The next step would be, okay, let's make choices with something that actually or not need. Then it could be about clothes. So I think it's just the green muscle that just keeps on strengthening day by day, minute by minute.
Exactly, because I came across this thing just 2 weekends ago when we were organizing a solar camp at 3 villages which we electrified through Project Chirag. And there,
Okay.
one of the guys from IIT came and distributed 100 solar cookers, very simple solar cookers, to 6 7 year old kids. And the motto behind them, we explained them the science behind it for 3 4 hours, and we made them cook on it. So it was not about they making the use of it and using it for years, but the goal was that even if one of those kids is inquisitive and tomorrow might become APJ Abdul Kalam and might
Right.
make something much more efficient. It's all about creating awareness and igniting that green muscle which you spoke about. Like I really like that word. So yeah, igniting that curiosity, that feeling, bringing that awareness. So I think yeah, awareness is the biggest cause or biggest way to support any cause, because
Yes.
rather than just one person doing it trying to create impact, now like I have an audience of 200,000 people and millions of people read about my journey. So I tell them that I did nothing, but I just tried to champion the cause, and
Right.
it at least starts the discussions, because of which the industry would grow and a lot
Yes.
of things would improve hopefully in the near future.
Definitely, and like collaboration is the key because we all have to do it together, I feel. And the credit for the green muscle thing goes to Poonam Birkasturi from Daily Dump. She was a person that actually mentioned this thing to me. So, Harsh, there was this one more thing which I found really interesting when I was like reading about it and looking for this. So, this was about impact tourism. So somewhere you mentioned that the growth of impact tourism could be beneficial. I want to know from you that why do you think that the growth of impact tourism is beneficial, and also for people who do not know what impact tourism is, please break down the word for them.
So, impact tourism means going to a place, let's say some place like Ladakh, and not just contributing to the economy, but leaving it better than we found, or at least not damaging it. Because as an outdoor professional, we are taught leave no trace LNT principles by some US organizations. Because when we camp outdoors, we want to minimize our carbon footprint and leave the place better for the next people coming to that area, to that trail. So similarly in impact tourism, the thing is that one should try to uh, stay as local as possible. So you should definitely spend money, you should create employment out there, but not affect the environment out there to as much as possible. For example, when we organize or curate experiences in the mountains, we try to keep it as slow as possible so that one can enjoy more, see more, while burning less fossil fuel, and spends more time in homestays, eating local food, drinking local stuff, spending time with the locals, because that is how their adverse impact is minimized, while the region also gets exposure to outside places, people get to understand, people get to help and stuff like that. So this is like one of the examples. But even otherwise, when we go to places like Everest, uh, you are really helping the economy out there because they don't have any other sources of income. So a lot of people uh, are are misled by the Western media that going and climbing mountains is bad for the mountains, bad for the people or anything. But when you go to the valley, you would realize that those people are climbing mountains so that their kids can go to school, and all of them are grateful that hey, you are coming here. They obviously tell you that please don't consume plastic, please don't please take your trash bag, please don't dirty our water, drinking water sources or anything, but they want that employment. And the way this can be solved is through impact tourism, like how we did. Like we went there, we spent money, we gave them employment, we did some cool and fun stuff, and we also tried to attach a cost to it through which we raised funds and tried to improve their lives. And because of us, they are very grateful that today they can have light at their place, they can have income for the rest of the year, they don't have to worry about survival and stuff, and their kids can go to school so that they can take up an average job in India or in some other nation in the future, if not Nepal.
That's incredible. And is impact tourism somewhat similar to ecotourism?
Yeah, sort of. So ecotourism mostly emphasizes on the environmental part,
Okay.
not the social part or not the economical part. Ecotourism is mostly around showing people the environment, but not
Okay.
necessarily in a sustainable way.
Like I have had the opportunity to experience this thing. So while we were like in an entrepreneurship program in France, so we were staying at a farm in Toulouse where we used to do woofing activities. So it was a very local, like a local farm, and we were staying at the guest's house, and there we used to mend all these things, like the tables. We used to plant. We used to create yarns and everything, and that experience was really wholesome. Something that I haven't experienced in my life. Like that was a one lifetime experience, and it just adds something to you, I feel. Also, like I would like to know from you, since you have traveled mountains are your place, have you seen the effects of climate change there? And what are the effects of climate change on mountains, on the people who live there? So what has been your experience?
I'll give you one example from Everest this year. About climate change, I can give you an example from my recent experience at Everest. Like there is this section called the Icefall, which is a flowing river of ice at the Khumbu Glacier. it is the most dangerous part of Everest. And until last year, like in 2020, nobody climbed, but until 2019, people would take 4 to 6 hours to cross that section. And this year, the crevasses were so much wider, and the route changed so drastically due to climate change and global warming that it was way riskier, and we took 10 to 12 hours to cover the same route, to cover the same distance. So this is one example. Similarly, when I was at one of the lower villages in the valley, when I was at Lobuche, and when I was going from Lobuche to Gorakshep and Gorakshep to Everest Base Camp, these are places around that glacier, Khumbu Glacier, and I could see that the glacier is gone, is melted and retreated by at least 100 meters, maybe much more. And I was there in 2019. Similarly, at Ladakh also, I have seen glaciers melting, vanishing literally, because I have been going there since 2016 every summer. And I've seen years when there is excessive snowfall, when there is no snowfall, when there is rain. So people here might be um so unaware that okay, how rains can be bad, but they are bad in such cold desert regions where it is not a part of the ecosystem. So because tourists are coming there, people are planting willow trees so that they can construct more hotels or have firewood, which is bringing rains because of more trees, which is also bringing flash floods. And then there is devastation once every 2 years, 3 years. So people can look up Ladakh floods and stuff like that, when a lot of people were homeless and even lost their lives. And I also saw something like that in 2018. So yeah, there's a lot of adverse effects of global warming which are clearly visible. And yeah, for that reason as well, one should go to the mountains, but responsibly. And the best way to experience even around impact tourism, like you mentioned about farming, so impact tourism and even adventure tourism in that sense involves an activity based tourism. So you don't just go to places to click selfies, but you do some meaningful activity out there, or you take some real life experience or gain some skill. It can be farming, it can be trekking or mountaineering, it can be volunteering at a school or something. But let's say you are going to Andaman Nicobar just for a week, and you are just clicking pictures and chilling by the beach, and rather you are picking up a sport like surfing, or you are picking up scuba diving, or you are doing something with the tribals, learning to cook. In that way, you enjoy much more, you take home some richer experiences, and you give them employment. Also, they learn a lot from you. It's not just about the money, the economy, but it's also about the exposure. So I think, yeah, this is something which you can add to the impact tourism part earlier.
And you know that feeling of feeling fuller from inside? I think nothing can trade off with that feeling. So
Yeah, it
Harsh, I
should
want,
be
yeah.
a meaningful experience.
Yes. I want to know from you now that how do you pursue anything in life without any expectations and rewards in return? Like we often hear this thing that okay, enjoy the journey. Journey is the most important part. But sometimes, all these sentences just seem like sentences. While you are struggling, while things are not working for you, while everything just seems, against you, during that moment, how do you work without any expectations? Because I feel that somewhere or the other, there is a hope attached. And when every day you are putting in efforts, you're not seeing things move. So during that time, how do you pursue anything without, any rewards or anything from return? Expectation of that, sorry.
So because you have that hope attached, and uh, the thing is trusting the process. For me, while climbing Everest, I knew I had climbed Everest already during my journey of the previous few years of preparation. So obviously, like when I got COVID, I was worried, oh my god, I'm gonna lose another year, but I'm gonna come again. I'm gonna keep coming back 3, 4, 5 times until I have done it all. But I was telling my friends that, oh my god, I so wanted to finish this so that I could climb another mountain next year, or I want to move to another country, I want to do a master's, and stuff like that. And I
Right.
obviously I also was worried about the money, that okay, I'm gonna lose 55, 60 lakh, but I didn't I didn't overthink. I tried not to overthink that, okay, where will I raise it from? How will I manage that again? Because that was not the priority. I focused on what was in my power. So that is all about
Yes.
perception, that trusting the process, putting in the work without worrying about the results. And I think it comes on long term goals. That's why tell everyone that set some long term goals and milestones around it. So when you are in those long term goal journey, you are already a winner in life, and then you won't be taken aback by these setbacks which are not in your control. For
Right.
example, we are marathon runners, so we don't expect any results in 3 months. Okay, oh,
Hmm.
my timing didn't improve, or I'm unable to run beyond 2 kilometers or whatever, because you are working towards a long term goal.
Yes.
So I also started from nothing. For example, a lot of people who meet me now think that I was always an athletic or outdoorsy kid, but I did not run
Yeah.
even 100 meters in my entire life until I turned 18. And and then I climbed Everest. I worked towards it. So similarly, this is the thing. And second thing is that during Everest, this is something which I learned at the top of Everest, that a lot of people are too focused on the goal, too focused on the result, that they miss out on the journey. And then you realize on reaching the top that, okay, maybe this was not worth it, or this was not the highlight. So for me, i
Right.
i knew that the top was, for me it was not about me, but something much bigger, and something about many others. But I have seen a lot of other people feeling lost, because even for me, one thing is true, that reaching the highest point on earth was not the happiest moment in my journey. It was the small big wins. And to be able to relate to that, I would also share that uh, a lot of people don't enjoy the experience while going to a mountain like Everest in the valley. Similarly, think about it in life. But when you go above base camp to the highest points, there is just snow. There are no flowers. The flowers are in the valley. The view is in the valley. The
Yes.
lessons are in the valley. And on reaching the top of the mountain, they want all that, but reaching on the top is lonely. And just on reaching the top of the mountain, you realize that, okay, there is another bigger mountain to climb. And then they think that they want immediate results, so they think they want to zip line from one mountain top to other, which is not possible. So you have to go again from the valley and enjoy that journey in the valley while going down, because life is a roller coaster ride. So there will obviously always be setbacks, and everyone feels anxious. While I'm saying this, I would sound very motivating, and I am a motivational speaker, but trust me, 3 days a week, even I wake up in anxiety. But it's okay. It's the discipline and the long term goal which keeps us going.
Do you think that, when you said that thing that everything is in the valley, or if you just see in the other sense that everything is during the journey, do you think that there is a fear of uncertainty? There is that scare that because of that, maybe someone is not able to enjoy the process. So, how do you deal with it?
Hmm. I don't know. I just try to give my best, because if I don't try, I would never know. So we all have
Yes.
that fear of uncertainty. Like, for example, even at Everest, even if you do everything right, till the last hour, you are not sure if you are gonna make it to the top. You might be the fittest person on earth. You might have the best weather reports, the best Sherpa. You don't have to worry about finances or anything. But still, you never know. Anything can go wrong. You might run out of oxygen. Your body won't support. Some piece of gear won't be there. Nature won't support. There might be an avalanche. There can be a storm or anything. But you just focus on the next step and you live in the moment. And this is
Right.
something which I learned from mountaineering in my everyday life. Even I am impatient sometimes, but yeah, I'm getting better. So that is why everyone should go and climb a mountain to get these lessons. And I think it is all about habit building and building that discipline through consistency and sacrifices, because without sacrifices, without stepping outside your comfort zone, there is no progress, which
Right.
most of the high achievers and winners know. That is why they face the same setbacks and anxiety, but it's all about how they react towards it.
And does that mean when you said that discipline your will to suffer? you need to have, like, because even in entrepreneurship, if I have to say, they say that you need to have a very strong heart. Every day something might happen, but you still have to get up, bounce back and just do things. So in your context also, like, because you mentioned this thing that discipline your will to suffer, what would you like to add to it?
Mm, I'm not sure because that statement itself is like so wholesome for me. Uh, that I don't know how to elaborate it. I
Yes.
would suggest people to wait for my book, and there from my journey, they would
You're
be able
writing a
to.
book?
Yeah, I'm writing a book, so they would be able to connect the dots somewhere. And I think it all comes to the same idea that if you are really serious about that goal and if you know why you are doing it, then all the sacrifices would be worth it. It won't even be suffering. It would just be a part of the process.
Okay. So, Harsh, my last question to you would be that share with me one experience from your journey to Everest or your journey while returning back from Everest where your courage to continue your willpower was put to test.
Hmm. There were a lot of moments out there, but yeah, one thing which a lot of people can relate to is the COVID thing. Like I had everything. I had storms, I had avalanches, I fell on a dead body, I had a friend who lost his life, and everything. But one of the things in today's world which is so popular is COVID. So I got COVID out there on the 48th day of my expedition, just a night when I was leaving for the summit push. And obviously, I was devastated because I got COVID exactly at a place where there is no oxygen, lack of oxygen, no
Right.
infrastructure, no medical facilities, no communications, and even your body is under exhaustion. So I did choose safety. I took some calculated risk. I stayed in isolation for another 11 days, and then I pushed for the summit. So that was one of the places where all my life uh, sort of flashbacked in front of
Right.
me, and the lessons I had in every moment in those days. Because you can imagine, as a young kid out there, as the expedition leader of an international team, there must have been so much
Mm.
pressure and so many options, so many things going through my mind. I tried meditating sort of for the first time in the past decade. I googled using satellite internet on how to do various breathing exercises, pranayam. Someone suggested me to say this mantra, and somehow that was the only
Yes.
mantra I learned as a child, Gayatri mantra. So I would chant that. I would do everything scientifically. I would gargle thrice a day with hot salt water. I would do with betadine. I took all the supplements. I would monitor myself. I checked with doctors. Fortunately, I did have some doctors in my team and others. So I did everything in my power without worrying about the result because it was
Yes.
already off. Now whatever I get was just me being lucky, and
Right.
fortunately I was. But what a lot of people don't understand, they think that someone is lucky, but all winners would relate to this, that luck is when hard work meets
Yes.
opportunity. So nobody is lucky, and actually, we already secretly hate someone when they call us lucky, because luck is like insulting someone's hard work and journey and everything. So, but yeah, I was very fortunate that everything fell in place,
Yeah.
and maybe it was because of the years of determination, hard work, consistency,
Yes.
because of which I was able to make it despite the odds. So this is one thing which maybe helps the listeners and would help them in their journey, and maybe someday someone would drop me a message that they climbed Everest after hearing this, or climbed their metaphorical Everest, whatever
Metaphorical.
it
Yeah.
is for them.
And well said, Hirsch. Also, I'd just like to add something to this, that, we say it very aptly that किस्मत भी मेहनत के कंधों पर सवार होती है. So,
Hmm.
it was your hard work. It was very easy for you to quit. quitting, I think, was a very easy option. Maybe people would have been suggesting you that, but it was your willpower, and the way you did that is absolutely amazing. And thank you for doing that, because as you correctly mentioned, that someday, okay, let's not talk about someone, I'll talk about my own self. Maybe there were habits that I was trying to inculcate in my daily schedule, and maybe after this podcast, not maybe, actually, I'm going to do that. Okay, so yes, you have helped me towards my metaphorical Everest. And thank
Thank
you for
you.
not giving up. The world definitely needs you and the contribution you are making. Thank you, Harsh. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. I hope that you had a good time. And thank you so much.
Yes, I did. Thank you for having